Now, I mentioned that Rockefeller video by James Corbett. The errors and assumptions are so sneaky that I really don't want to be a part of passing it on. Watch it if you want, but you're going to have to look for it. I don't want to be a part of it. But I do have a few observations that I believe to be important. But here's some background. John D. Rockefeller was the richest man that the modern world has ever known. And he got there by being in on the ground floor of the oil revolution. He is literally the personification of the power and wealth that petroleum brought to our civilization. The fact that he wanted to be rich and got what he wanted is actually not very important. The important point is that he was a very smart man who was at the right place and the right time to help launch an industry and change the world. There is no indication that whatsoever that he was a Satanist or even a particularly wicked person. In fact, he was a rather faithful member of the Erie Street Baptist Mission in Cleveland, Ohio. He tithed regularly, and some claim that he never cheated anyone. I doubt that last part, but who knows? As I've often said, anything is possible. And whatever you might say about his ethics, he did give glory to God, which is why God might have granted him a long 97-year life. At age 86, he is recorded as saying this as a summary of his life, quote, "I was early taught to work as well as play. My life has been one long happy holiday, full of work and full of play. I dropped the worry on the way, and God was good to me every day." Close quote. Yes, I know that it's possible that his public relations people helped create this image of a pious man. But I also know that his enemies could not claim that he was unfaithful to his wife. They could not claim that he drank or did drugs. In fact, the only thing that they really could accuse him of is becoming the richest man in the world. I say all that to make the point that it wasn't evil that created the petroleum revolution. It wasn't a Satanist or one of the robber barons of the day. He wasn't a Freemason. It doesn't sound like he was an Illuminist. He just seemed very good at doing what he did. Having said that, someone put an obelisk near his grave, not a cross, an obelisk. That's a bad sign. Literally a bad sign. I know that your wishes about what kind of funeral you want can be overruled by your heirs. I know someone who wanted a Masonic funeral but didn't get it because his daughter said absolutely not. Whatever John D. Rockefeller might have been, and no, I'm not saying that he was a good guy, we know a lot about his children and grandchildren. They were and are evil. Something that the love of money does to kids. No surprise. Again, why am I talking about Rockefeller? Because he represented the fantastic explosion of wealth and productivity from oil that helped create the banking system. The banking system that we have today. Yes, I know about the rise of the European banks set up by the Barings, the Rothschilds, the Barenbergs, the etc. But that was nothing compared to what they became after the oil boom of the late 1800s. Oil created more wealth and power than anything that the world had ever seen. And it happened just at the right time when coal-fired innovation was pushing at the boundaries of technology. The first industrial revolution was fueled by coal, and it created tremendous innovation, a rapidly growing economy, and an infrastructure that the oil-powered second industrial revolution would build on. And all of that wealth had to go somewhere, and that somewhere was the banking industry. Banks exploded in size and power, and they owed their wealth and influence to coal and oil. But without all of that energy and the clever innovations in their use, there is no way that the banks would have ever become as powerful as they are today. I know that I'm glossing over a lot of detail, but the main point needs to be understood by everyone. The banking system might have had its roots in the Renaissance and the banking cartels that sprang up after the Protestant Reformation, but that was nothing compared to what coal and oil helped create centuries later. It was coal and oil that built the system that gave the banks their power. So what happens to the banks when coal and oil shrink? what happens to the governments that were beneficiaries of this tremendous outpouring of wealth? Well, just as banks and governments grew with the rise of wealth, they will shrink with the decline of wealth. But they will not shrink in the same way that they grew. They will grasp for every shred of power and wealth that they can squeeze out of the population and will dig bloody furrows through our society as their grasp fails. The banks and governments will fight to the blood-soaked bitter end. This is why peak oil and peak coal will do more than just damage the economy and our way of life. It will also directly damage and even destroy much of the banking system that we know today. And the bankers will do and are doing everything in their power to keep their power and wealth. Then every government that sees the threat to their own power and dominance will do the same. No one gives up power and wealth without a bitter fight. No one. They will steal, kill, and destroy anyone that they see as an obstacle to them. As energy declines, expect banks and governments to fight for what is left, and that battle will lead to the wars and rumors of wars that Jesus talked about. All of that is a key reason why the last days were always going to be horrible beyond belief. That's it for this shotcast. Again, hit like, click subscribe, and whack that little bell. And please share this video or the MP3. After you have done all that, leave a comment. I like seeing what you have to say about what was said here. Your input is welcome. Then help keep Omega Shock and the Shockcast alive. There's a link below that can help you do that. I did this for free for 8 years. Now I can't. Also, subscribe to The Shock Letter at theshockletter.com and read my books for free. You do not want to get caught by what is coming.